In 2026, motorcycle pricing tells a story most spec sheets won't. Every major manufacturer now sells a single bike that sits far above the rest of its lineup, often priced beyond what longtime riders ever planned to spend. Today, we're breaking down the most expensive motorcycle from each brand, not to rank performance, but to understand what pushed prices this far. These aren't concept bikes or customs. They're real machines on real showroom floors. If you've watched motorcycles shift from transportation to luxury, this list connects the dots. Watch until the end, because the pattern only becomes obvious once every brand is on the table. Number 7. Triumph Rocket. 3. Storm GT. There was a time when big cruisers were judged by sound, stance, and the way they pulled away from a stoplight. This machine rewrites that rule book without asking permission. It does not chase chrome nostalgia or borrowed heritage. It exists to prove a single point. Raw mechanical force still matters, even in a market crowded with electronics and image-driven design. Everything about it feels intentional, heavy in the right places, and unapologetic about scale. From the saddle, the experience is more controlled than its reputation suggests. The long wheelbase and low center of gravity keep things settled, even when the throttle is opened harder than most riders would admit. The riding position favors distance over drama. Forward controls stretch the legs, the bars come back naturally, and the seat supports hours instead of minutes. This is not a machine that begs to be rushed. It prefers steady confidence and deliberate inputs. What surprises most seasoned riders is how composed it feels at real-world speeds. The chassis does not twist or protest when leaned. Braking arrives without panic. Heat management stays reasonable for a motor this large. It feels engineered first, styled second. That balance is why many lifelong American cruiser riders respect it, even if they never plan to own one. The touring focus becomes clearer the longer the ride lasts. Wind protection is subtle but effective. Cruise control works smoothly without hunting. The suspension absorbs rough pavement better than expected, especially on long interstate stretches where comfort matters more than corner speed. It carries its weight honestly, never pretending to be light, but never feeling careless either. This motorcycle also forces an uncomfortable conversation. For decades, torque-heavy cruising belonged to one side of the Atlantic. This machine crosses that line quietly, without marketing slogans or nostalgia bait. It does not ask riders to abandon their roots. It simply demonstrates that brute force and long-distance comfort can come from somewhere else and still feel legitimate. Ownership, however, is not about chasing numbers. Maintenance access is straightforward, but parts pricing reflects its flagship status. Fuel consumption reminds you that displacement always collects its due. Parking lot maneuvers demand attention. These are not flaws. They are trade-offs, familiar to anyone who has lived with a serious touring rig. This motorcycle earns its place here because it challenges assumptions without insulting tradition. It respects experience, rewards restraint, and delivers something honest in a market full of filtered sensations. In a quiet way, it proves that modern engineering can still feel mechanical, and that progress does not always mean abandoning weight, sound, or presence. Horsepower is 180, engine size measures 2,458 cubic centimeters, torque reaches 166 pound-feet. Braking is handled by Brembo-style calipers with anti-lock braking system. Suspension consists of Showa adjustable front forks and adjustable rear shock. Wet weight is approximately 700 pounds. Seat height measures 29.5 inches, and starting price begins at $25,895. Torque alone does not define the upper limit of motorcycle ambition, and the machine that follows proves comfort can be re-engineered without borrowing tradition. Number 6. KTM 1390 Super Adventure S Evio. Long miles expose weakness faster than any spec sheet ever will. Wind noise, cramped knees, vague steering, and poor suspension tuning all show up after the third fuel stop, not the first impression. This machine was built with that reality in mind. It does not aim to charm riders at a showroom glance. It aims to stay composed after an entire day of broken pavement, heat shimmer, and crosswinds that wear down both body and focus. The riding position immediately signals its purpose. You sit upright, with a commanding view of traffic, road surface, and weather ahead. The bars fall naturally to hand without forcing a reach. Legroom favors favors aging knees, and the seat supports weight evenly instead of concentrating pressure in one place. This posture reduces fatigue more than most riders expect, especially those coming from traditional touring platforms. What separates this motorcycle from past adventure machines is restraint. Power delivery feels controlled rather than aggressive. Throttle response is clean, predictable, and easy to modulate at low speeds. That matters when maneuvering through towns, construction zones, or gravel pull-offs. The chassis feels balanced, not top-heavy, even when fully fueled. Suspension behavior remains calm over frost heaves and uneven pavement, absorbing sharp impacts without transferring shock to the rider. Technology plays a larger role here, but it stays mostly out of the way. Rider aids operate quietly in the background instead of demanding attention. The display is large and readable, even in direct sun, which matters for older eyes. Adjustments can be made without removing gloves, and menus follow logic rather than novelty. It feels designed by engineers who actually ride distance, not committees chasing trends. Comfort over time is where this motorcycle earns respect. Wind protection adjusts smoothly, allowing airflow management as temperatures change. Heated components extend riding seasons without feeling excessive. Cruise control reduces wrist strain on long stretches of highway. When the road turns rough or unfamiliar, stability remains consistent instead of nervous. This is not about speed, it is about confidence when conditions stop being ideal. Some riders dismiss machines like this as overly complex or detached from tradition. That criticism misses the point. This motorcycle does not attempt to replace heritage touring. It exists for riders who care more about arriving steady than arriving loud. It respects mileage, maintenance intervals, and real-world reliability expectations. Parts accessibility is reasonable, and service intervals are clearly defined, not hidden behind marketing language. This machine also highlights a shift in long-distance thinking. Touring no longer requires massive bodywork or excessive weight to feel stable. Comfort can come from balance, suspension quality, and thoughtful ergonomics. That reality may challenge long-held assumptions, but it reflects how riding evolves when miles keep adding up. Horsepower measures 170. Engine size is 1,351 cubic centimeters. Torque reaches 126 pound-feet. Braking uses Brembo calipers with anti-lock braking system. Suspension consists of semi-active WP front and rear components. Ready-to-ride weight is approximately 578 pounds. Seat height measures 34.9 inches adjustable, and starting price begins around $23,000 depending on market. Where technology redefines distance, the next motorcycle argues that finish quality and restraint still matter more than screens and software. If this breakdown is hitting home, support the channel by liking this video, subscribing for weekly rider-first analysis, and sharing your perspective below. Number 5. Indian Roadmaster Elite. Paint depth tells stories before engines ever turn over. The way light sinks into layered color, the way hand-laid lines refuse to blur, and the way metal badges sit slightly proud instead of flush, all signal intent. This machine was not designed to chase trends or chase youth. It was designed to reward riders who recognize craft immediately, without needing an explanation or a brochure. Long before the first mile, the presence is unmistakable. Wide bodywork, deep fenders, and a broad stance give the impression of stability even at rest. The seating position feels relaxed but deliberate. Floorboards allow movement during long days, and the bars come back naturally, reducing shoulder strain. Nothing feels rushed. Nothing feels experimental. This motorcycle settles into its role without apology. Out on the road, the experience stays consistent. The power delivery is smooth and predictable, favoring torque over urgency. Passing maneuvers require little planning. The engine responds with a steady push instead of a surge, which matters more after hours in the saddle. Heat management remains reasonable, even during slow traffic, and vibration never crosses into fatigue. Comfort is where this machine separates itself. The seat supports weight evenly, preventing pressure points that build over time. Wind protection creates a calm pocket at highway speeds, reducing helmet buffeting. Audio clarity remains usable even when riding into crosswinds. These details matter to riders who measure trips in days, not hours. Suspension tuning favors control rather than softness. Bumps are absorbed without wallow. Expansion joints do not unsettle the chassis. The bike tracks straight through uneven pavement, maintaining confidence during night riding or poor weather. Weight is present, but it feels planted instead of burdensome. Parking requires attention, but motion rewards experience. Exclusivity plays a role here, but it does not dominate the conversation. Limited production adds value, yet the appeal comes from execution rather than rarity alone. This motorcycle feels finished, not accessorized. Every surface appears intentional. Every Every control feels placed for use rather than appearance. That difference is subtle, but seasoned riders notice immediately. There is also an unspoken contrast. While other premium tours chase screens, aggressive styling, or constant reinvention, this one leans into maturity. It understands that riders who have logged decades of miles do not want to relearn their motorcycle every season. Familiarity becomes a feature, not a weakness. Ownership brings responsibility. Maintenance costs reflect premium materials. Paint demands care. Weight demands respect. These are expected trade-offs, not surprises. Riders who choose this machine already understand that longevity comes from attention, not shortcuts. Engine size measures 1,890 cubic centimeters. Torque reaches 126 pound-feet. Braking is handled by Brembo calipers with anti-lock braking system. Suspension consists of telescopic front forks and electronically adjustable rear fork shock. Wet weight is approximately 930 pounds. Seat height measures 26.5 inches, and starting price begins at $42,999. Craft and presence give way to something far less accommodating, where comfort is sacrificed in the name of uncompromising performance. If you want the gear and accessories I trust, the ones built for real riding, not luxury branding, they're all linked in the description. Number 4. BMW M1000RR Competition. Race rules rarely create comfortable machines. They create sharp ones, expensive ones, and uncompromising ones. This motorcycle exists because a rulebook demanded it, not because riders asked for another street toy. Every decision behind its design points toward lap times, not coffee stops. That focus gives it a different kind of legitimacy, one that seasoned riders recognize immediately, even if they have no interest in owning it. The riding position makes its intentions clear within seconds. Weight falls forward onto the wrists, legs fold tightly beneath the body, and the seat offers just enough padding to qualify as street legal. Nothing feels accidental. Controls are placed for precision, not relaxation. This motorcycle expects commitment, attention, and respect. It does not forgive laziness or distraction. On the move, the sensation is surgical. Throttle response is immediate without feeling twitchy. Steering inputs translate instantly, with no delay or ambiguity. Stability under hard braking inspires confidence, even when traction feels limited. This is not a motorcycle that flatters riders. It exposes mistakes quickly and rewards discipline just as fast. What separates this machine from ordinary performance bikes is how little it compromises. Many modern sport machines soften edges to broaden appeal. This one sharpens them. Suspension tuning favors feedback over comfort. Aerodynamics prioritize downforce rather than styling harmony. Heat management accepts discomfort as the cost of performance. These choices would never survive a marketing committee, which is exactly why they remain intact here. Despite its extreme nature, refinement still shows through. Build quality feels precise, not rushed. Fasteners, finishes, and component fit reflect obsessive attention. Electronics operate transparently, assisting without masking rider input. Safety systems exist to support racing intent, not replace rider judgment. This balance between assistance and control reflects deep engineering confidence. For riders raised on older machines, this motorcycle recalls a different era. It echoes the days when manufacturers sold barely detuned race bikes because competition demanded homologation. Back then, comfort was irrelevant, and reliability came from overbuilding. This machine channels that philosophy into a modern form, reminding riders what pure purpose feels like. Ownership is impractical by design. Insurance costs run high. Maintenance intervals favor track use over touring schedules. Riding in traffic feels like an endurance test. None of that is accidental. This motorcycle is not meant to be used daily. It is meant to exist as proof that manufacturers still know how to build without compromise when forced. Respect, not desire, is the usual reaction from experienced riders. Many admire it without wanting it. That reaction speaks to its honesty. It never pretends to be more than it is. It never hides behind lifestyle marketing. It stands alone as a mechanical statement. Horsepower reaches approximately 205 to 212, depending on configuration. Engine size measures 999 cubic centimeters. Torque delivers approximately 81 pound-feet. Braking is handled by M-Spec Brembo calipers with anti-lock braking system. Suspension consists of electronically controlled Erlen balanced front forks, and rear shock. Dry weight is approximately 427 pounds, depending on package. Seat height measures 32.8 inches, and starting price begins around $38,000, depending on market and trim. Precision has its limits, and the motorcycle ahead abandons discipline entirely in favor of raw force and controlled intimidation. Number 3. Kawasaki Ninja H2 Carbon. Some motorcycles are built to be fast, while others are built to make a point. This one was created to remind riders that fear has not been engineered out of modern machines. It does not exist to broaden, appeal, or soften edges. It exists to intimidate, to overwhelm, and to demand respect, in a way few production motorcycles still attempt. That intent is obvious before the engine ever fires. The riding experience feels dense and serious. Weight sits low and centered, giving the chassis a planted feel that resists twitchiness, even when power delivery becomes aggressive. The seating position leans forward but remains usable, placing the rider inside the machine rather than perched above it. Controls feel firm, mechanical, and deliberate, reinforcing the sense that nothing here was designed casually. Acceleration defines the experience. Throttle input produces an immediate surge that feels compressed rather than explosive, as if force is being released under pressure instead of simply spun up. Passing maneuvers happen without planning. Highway speeds feel irrelevant. The sensation is not excitement alone, it is gravity shifting, vision narrowing, and instinct taking over. That reaction echoes memories of earlier eras when motorcycles were allowed to be dangerous by design. Stability remains the unexpected strength. At speed, the chassis tracks straight and refuses to wander. Aerodynamics keep the front end settled under hard acceleration, reducing lift and maintaining control. Braking performance matches the engine's intent, delivering strong stopping power without drama. This balance prevents the machine from becoming reckless, even when ridden hard. The carbon elements do more than add visual impact. They reduce weight where it matters and signal this machine's place at the top of the lineup. Finish quality feels industrial rather than decorative. Surfaces look purposeful. Fasteners feel overbuilt. Nothing here aims to be subtle. That honesty appeals to riders who value function over fashion. Heat management and fuel consumption demand acceptance. Extended low-speed riding becomes uncomfortable. Range shrinks quickly when the throttle is used freely. Insurance and maintenance costs reflect the machine's extremes. These realities limit practicality, but they also reinforce intent. This motorcycle was never meant to commute quietly or blend in. For experienced riders, the appeal lies in what it represents. It recalls the era of two-stroke triples and early superbikes, when manufacturers chased performance without apology. Electronics now stand between rider and catastrophe, but the underlying spirit remains intact. It challenges skill, discipline, and judgment, rather than offering reassurance. Ownership becomes a statement, not a convenience. It declares a willingness to accept compromise in exchange for intensity. Many admire it without wanting it. Fewer choose to live with it. That distinction adds to its gravity. This motorcycle does not need to be common to be influential. Horsepower reaches approximately 228 with ram air effect. Engine size measures 998 cubic centimeters. Torque delivers approximately 101 pound-feet. Braking is handled by Brembo-style calipers with anti-lock braking system. Suspension consists of electronically controlled Showa front and rear components. Wet weight is approximately 525 pounds. Seat height measures 32.1 inches, and starting price begins at approximately $36,500. Intensity fades when identity takes over, and the following machine shifts the conversation from performance to what ownership represents. If you value clear-eyed motorcycle coverage built for experienced riders, subscribe now and stay connected. This channel exists to document what manufacturers are doing, where prices are heading, and how these decisions affect riders who still measure life in miles. Number 2. Harley-Davidson 𝐶𝒕𝒉𝒆𝒓 road glide. Presence matters long before the engine turns. The first thing most riders notice is not speed or technology, but scale and confidence. This motorcycle occupies space deliberately. It looks settled, planted, and finished, as if it belongs at the front of a formation instead of blending into traffic. That sense of authority has always been part of the appeal, and it remains intact here. Time in the saddle reinforces that impression. The riding position favors long days rather than short thrills. Bars fall naturally to hand. Floorboards allow movement as miles stack up. The seat supports rather than punishes, even after hours at highway pace. This machine was designed for riders who understand distance, weather changes, and the mental fatigue that comes with serious mileage. Wind management plays a critical role. The fairing creates a calm pocket that reduces strain on the neck and shoulders. Crosswinds feel muted instead of exhausting. At sustained speeds, the ride stays composed, allowing focus to remain on the road rather than constant correction. This stability defines the experience more than outright performance ever could. The engine character matches the mission. Power delivery is smooth, steady, and predictable. Acceleration feels strong without being abrupt. Passing happens with confidence, not drama. Heat management stays reasonable for a large touring platform, and vibration remains controlled even when cruising for extended periods. The emphasis stays on comfort and consistency rather than aggression. Technology exists here to serve convenience, not distraction. Navigation, audio, and rider aids integrate cleanly into the riding experience. Controls remain familiar to longtime riders, avoiding unnecessary reinvention. The interface prioritizes clarity and usability, especially for eyes that prefer readable displays over novelty. Everything feels placed for use, not for show. What truly defines this motorcycle is identity. Ownership communicates achievement, loyalty, and continuity. It signals that the rider values tradition, comfort, and presence over chasing trends. That message resonates strongly in certain circles, where recognition matters as much as the ride itself. This machine does not pretend otherwise. Weight and size require respect. Parking demands attention. Slow speed maneuvers reward experience. Maintenance costs reflect premium positioning. These realities are expected by riders who choose this level of touring. They are not drawbacks so much as acknowledgments of scale and purpose. Criticism often centers on price and evolution. Some argue innovation lags behind competitors. Others see refinement instead of stagnation. Both perspectives hold truth. This motorcycle does not chase reinvention. It protects a formula that has worked for decades, even as the industry shifts around it. Engine is the Milwaukee 8 121. Engine size measures 1,868 cubic centimeters. Torque reaches 139 pound-feet. Braking is handled by Brembo calipers with anti-lock braking system. Suspension consists of Showa front forks and asymmetric Showa rear shocks. Wet weight is approximately 855 pounds, seat height measures 26.7 inches, and starting price begins at $45,999. Status and comfort disappear at the final step, replaced by a machine that exists solely because racing rules refuse to bend. Number 1. Ducati Panigale 𝐕4R. Some motorcycles are built to be owned, others are built to be understood. This one belongs to a smaller category still, the kind created because rules forced a manufacturer's hand. It was never meant to be comfortable, forgiving, or friendly. It exists to satisfy a requirement on paper and dominate everywhere else. That singular purpose defines every choice behind it. From the moment you sit on it, there is no illusion about intent. The riding position folds the body forward and inward, loading wrists and legs with equal responsibility. The seat feels thin, firm, and unapologetic. Controls fall exactly where precision demands, not where comfort would prefer. This motorcycle expects effort. It does not adapt to the rider. The rider adapts to it. Movement reveals the character immediately. Throttle. Response feels sharp but disciplined, as if restrained by intelligence rather than softened. Acceleration builds with urgency that never feels casual. Steering reacts instantly, requiring commitment and accuracy. Stability under speed feels absolute, especially when leaned over hard. This machine does not wander, hesitate, or forgive sloppy input. Heat is part of the experience. Slow traffic becomes an endurance test. Cooling systems manage temperature as designed, but comfort was never a design goal. Suspension tuning communicates every surface change directly. Bumps are transmitted honestly. Feedback flows uninterrupted. This clarity is exhausting for casual riding and invaluable when precision matters. What separates this motorcycle from others is restraint in compromise. Electronics assist without masking physics. Rider aids exist to protect purpose, not soften it. Aerodynamics generate measurable stability rather than visual drama. Weight reduction takes priority over convenience. Materials are chosen for strength and mass savings, not cost efficiency. For riders who remember earlier homologation specials, the feeling is familiar. This recalls an era when manufacturers sold race machines because competition demanded public availability. Back then, owners accepted discomfort, noise, and expense as the price of access. That mindset survives here, modernized but unchanged in spirit. Ownership rarely means daily use. Many examples live in climate-controlled garages, rolled out sparingly, admired as much as ridden. That does not weaken legitimacy, it strengthens it. This motorcycle marks the outer edge of what production allows, proving real racing intent still reaches public roads. Respect becomes the natural response. Even riders who would never own one understand its role. It rejects identity, comfort, and lifestyle theater, standing for purpose executed without apology. Where engineering speaks louder than compromise alone, horsepower reaches approximately 218 in standard configuration. Engine size measures 998 cubic centimeters. Torque delivers approximately 80 pound-feet. Braking is handled by Brembo Stylema R calipers with anti-lock braking system. Suspension consists of Öhlins NPX pressurized front forks and Öhlins rear shock. Dry weight is approximately 379 pounds, depending on configuration. Seat height measures 32.7 inches, and starting price begins at $44,995. No further escalation exists beyond this point, because nothing else sold to the public is born from such a narrow and uncompromising purpose. That wraps this breakdown. If you got value from it, hit like so more riders see it. Subscribe for weekly Rider First analysis, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Your experience adds more truth than any spec sheet ever will.